It is a Tuesday. Sorry for being a little late, folks. Let's get the chair settled. I'm either fighting with my chair or with my microphone. Or both. Hope you're doing well. As we get going on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. There it is. Responding to emails. I just had lunch. Sorry, folks. I'm getting to ya. Multiple screens in front of me. Yo, 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 yo. Here we go. Carl's in the house. David's in the house. Lex is in the house. TK is in the house. What's up, TK? As long as you're not fighting with your wife. Fighting with the wife at times is actually very healthy and a good thing, Carl. My wife and I have regularly scheduled fights we have every 2 to 3 months. Joke. It's a joke. What's up, Baron? How you doing? Big clutch in the house. Yeah, so today's a call-in show, guys. Y'all can call in. Do so. Let's see what's going on. I'm waiting for my coffee to get delivered. I haven't had my cup of coffee today yet. And wearing the Liverpool jersey, yes. Yes. My Liverpool top, as they say it in the United Kingdom of America. Because Liverpool had a fantastic Sunday. So did I. Man, what a game. I've watched the highlights for that game a bunch of times already. I've watched an analysis of how to play with 10 men. The only thing that's come out of that game that's really bad, it seems like Virgil van Dijk will get suspended for a lot longer than what his red card was. My coffee has arrived, folks. Thank you. Thank you, oh wife. Don't unsubscribe because I started late. That's the kind of wife I have. She delivers my coffee. Whoa. My wife's school is on lockdown. Suspect, I guess. Seen in tactical gear with gun. Pray everyone. Okay. I'm going to pass on eCam. My phone is overheating just from the weather, adding eCam onto it. Sorry, man. It's that other software is junk. Sean says, miss me. Not really. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Nick and I are going to grab some coffee one of these days. Least favorite theologian? Oh, man. Huh. I shouldn't say this. Okay, so should I or should I not? I gotta be careful here. Oh gosh. The call-in link is in the chat. It's pinned at the top. So, not because I know this person. I'm sure this person's a phenomenal individual. But it's more so, and it's not even the theology. It's not even the theology. It's more so his writing style, Nick. Michael Horton. Reading his systematic theology was a drag. So again, this has nothing to do with ideology and theology and where he goes. So there's a couple of things. One of them was just a very dry writer. Number two was that he really brings in Calvinism into the whole ordeal, and he didn't need to in some of the theological settings. So, gonna bring on our first caller today, ladies and gentlemen. There's a computer here that has called in. Hello, computer. I cannot hear you. Oh, who's this guy? Whoa, 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 whoa. I can't hear you. You're muted, sir. You're muted. Hang on. I'm sorry. I had muted you. I didn't realize that.
Hi, my name is Aaron. I calling for to say I don't believe in the God.
Okay. Why are you holding a...
You think I'm stupid guy? You think you cannot bring me to on your show and you're going to keep hiding me? Well, guess what? I will find every single way to come and manipulation all the computers in the entire United States, and I will come to on your show. Now, the trick I use here is I said to your friend's name is computer. I use this one and I come in right with the microphone. Oh, look at me. I'm Mr. Apologetic. I have the headphone. I have the microphone. I have the glasses. I have the cool hat. You can never get rid of me. Quit your channel today. As I said before, you will not hit the 5,000 subscribers.
Well, hey, I should tell you this. We just dropped a video that did really well. It was a response video. It's called Does this Bible passage teach it is okay to, you can RAPE, and that video did really well.
Okay, why? Okay.
It did really well. Hang on.
Well, we are
The
getting
video did
our-
really well. Wait, the video's done really well. It's gotten us about 1,700 views and 33 new subscribers just from that video. And so, which I say this because those 33 subscribers, just ladies and gentlemen, just put us above 4,700 subscribers. We're at 4,720
Oh, wow,
right now.
4,700. Wow.
We have
Congratulations.
280 more to go for
Do
5,000.
you know how many subscribing the Mr. Beast has? Yes, over 47 million.
That's
I
very
don't care
nice.
about 3,000, 4,700.
I'm
And
sure he
why
started
do you-
somewhere.
I don't understand. Why do you need to speak on the RAPE to get the viewership?
No, so
This
it was
is-
a video I was responding to. Someone else had spoken
yeah,
about it.
Whatever. I heard.
What's
that
up with
you-
your microphone?
I I heard that you're using my name in the recent stream to become more popular.
Really?
I heard you are putting on the tags to your videos where everybody can see it, but you're putting the Pisabi app on here in the tags. So I think the reason you're getting the 33 subscribers is because you're putting my name in the tag message.
Are you that famous?
Listen, I am not famous yet, but we are Muslim, we are humble. We don't want to be the famous like you Christian. Oh, Christian YouTube, oh, Christian show. We are going to Las Vegas to do convention with a Christian YouTuber, blah 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 blah. We don't doing these things. We are truly humble. We are humble peoples, and this is why
Humble.
yes, this is
Pisabi.
why
Pisabi, humble.
okay, no, humble. Okay.
Humble.
I am making a promise right here for everyone on your YouTube channel to see. In less than 1 month up to this day, you will see the great Prisabi. When you click into the YouTube, you will open it and you say, "My God, I can't believe it! It's the no."
Hey, I think Pisabi needs better internet connection. Oh man. TK says this guy's my real estate agent. You might want to get a new real estate agent, bud. Nick, I'm not very sure whether you've met Mr. Pisabi. He's an interesting character that he calls in every once in a while. This is getting bad. This dude looks like the guy who keeps calling me about my auto warranty. Hey, I don't know how he got in there, but he got in there, huh? Javier Park, religious trauma survivor. Javier, is that necessary? I mean, you could just go with Javier Park or religious trauma survivor. I don't know what you mean by religious trauma, by the way. Sorry if you've gone through some nasty situations. What do you think? What do y'all think? I guess this is for the whole chat of Mark Driscoll. He can't stay out of my YouTube feeds. What do I think about Mark Driscoll? I don't really have an opinion on Mark Driscoll. There was a very short period of time, I guess, in my life where I was really tuning into Mark Driscoll, but I was tuning into him for like specific purposes, I guess. And I know, there was a scandal and all that stuff, and I don't really have an opinion on the guy. He does stuff that sort of I'm like that, right? So my opinion is Mark Driscoll does things where I just generally go, necessary, not. I don't know. Maybe it might be an age thing, man. Maybe I'm getting that. Like, you guys, it's my birthday next month. On the 27th of September. And I'm turning 38 years old. And I think I might be at a point in my life where I'm just... I don't have that much energy to spend on like getting upset at people. Um, you missed an awesome call in, man. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome. But Pisabi called in, hijacked someone's computer and called in. That was really weird. Mark Driscoll is a less interesting Andrew Tate, which isn't. I know. I look, Nick. I think you're being overly harsh there. Yeah. Thanks. Very nice. I know for sure I'm going to get at least one birthday present. That's going to be a really, really awesome birthday present that I'm happy for. And if the individual who's getting me that present is in the chat, you're appreciated. Thank you very much. But I won't mention what it is. When you get to 40, you don't have energy, and 50, you don't care what they say. Yes, yes. Maybe I want to get to that age where I'm just like, okay. I'm sort of there right now. I don't know, David, man. Things that used to motivate me, obviously, don't motivate me anymore because they don't need to motivate me. There's other things that motivate me. Well, the first coffee can be my birthday gift to you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and that would mean we don't meet. Just putting that out there. I take this stuff seriously, dude. Saying. Man, that was weird, huh? Like that was that whole Pisabi thing was weird. I was like, who's this guy? And then he out of nowhere, he was like, haha, I got you. He tries to do these things. It's very strange, this Pisabi character. Very strange person. But hey, here's the thing, guys. Nonetheless, we want to see him come to know Jesus. It'd be really cool for him to become a Christian. Like, imagine if Pisabi became a Christian, guys. Given how much I know about anything UK and sport, I'll just stick to New Testament nerd stuff. That's probably best. I'm just getting updates on that whole school situation, by the way, guys. Seems like they've seen someone on the road and a bunch of schools have been put on lockdown. Ooh, 2 Corinthians 5:20 is one of my favorite Bible passages. By the way, I'm here till like 3:30 today. I got a meeting at 4, so maybe 3:45 to push it. So I'm just gonna say, if you're one of those people who's sitting there who goes, I can call in towards the end or something, I'll probably cut you off and say this conversation's over if that happens. Kobe. We want Pisabi to become a Christian. That was weird. Like his internet just dropped. He was like, everybody will know. Da, 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 da. Get better internet connection, man. Okay, we're just gonna sit. Nobody wants to call and talk about stuff. You know, guys, that video there was a short I clipped out and put it on Instagram and YouTube, and the Instagram one has like taken off. I think it's got like 10,000 views, and the comment section is insane, but it's insanely toxic. It's like people are saying the most random stuff on both sides. I haven't even gotten involved. This is very nerdy language right away. Human participation and agency and the missional reality of the apocalyptic church. What's been the response to the John McCrae interview? Nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, it's hasn't gone crazy. Hasn't like analytically. It's done exactly what I would have expected it to do. Yeah. I keep yawning. That's because I woke up at like 5:30 today. That's why I need my cup of coffee. But I will drop that another video I pulled out responding to that young lady. Hey folks, Sean's calling in. Sean, how you doing, man?
Hello.
Hey.
So, yeah, I'd like to talk about the Bible again.
Sure.
I was just on the website there, another one with bad things in the Bible.
Okay, so Sean, your internet's
I'll change some things in it.
Your internet's like choppy. So I didn't understand what you said after.
All right.
I want to talk about the Bible.
It's better now.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Is it better now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry about that. All right. But there's loads of stuff in Deuteronomy that's not good.
There's loads of stuff in
let's see this one.
Not good.
No one who has been emasculated by crushing or cutting may enter the assembly of the Lord. Deuteronomy 23:1.
Hang on.
Have you heard of that one?
Yes. Did you say is Deuteronomy 23?
23:1.
You know what that's talking? You know what that's talking about, right?
No, I just read it here. I don't know. No one who has been emasculated by crushing or cutting may enter the assembly of the Lord.
Do you know what emasculated by crushing or cutting means?
I don't know, like circumcision?
No. You're close.
Fighting?
No, if you read a more modern translation, that'll say, "No one whose testicles are crushed or whose male organ is cut off shall enter the assembly of the Lord."
Yeah, what does that mean?
It means no one whose testicles are crushed or whose male organ is cut off shall enter the assembly of the Lord.
Literally.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it could be that
So,
this is specifically in reference to a temple ceremony, and these individuals are not allowed into that kind of a service.
oh, you mean they're not allowed? Oh, they're not allowed to go in the church, not heaven.
Well, no, it's not. No, it's not heaven, and it's not the church, because you got to realize you're reading Deuteronomy, which means you're reading the Old Testament, which means you're reading temple language. These are laws for Israel's
Oh, so it's not
ceremonial
talking about going to heaven.
practices. No. This has nothing to do with going to heaven.
Dang it! I thought it was heaven. All right, feck. All right, another one. The men. Okay, the men of her town shall stone her to death.
Passage.
The men of her town shall stone her to death.
Mhm.
Deuteronomy 22.20/21.
Okay, so it's
All right.
22,
So
20.
they
Okay.
they agree with stoning. I guess this is Old Testament stuff. Nobody believes that stuff.
Well, hang on. So here's what's going on. So before anybody goes kind of crazy about this stuff, right? So Deuteronomy 22:20, correct? Says, but if the thing is true, the evidence of virginity.
20.
Yeah. So I'll read the whole passage, okay? But if this thing is true, the evidence of virginity was not found in the young woman. This means she's slept around. Then they shall bring the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her with the death of stones, because she has done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from amongst your midst. Now, if a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. Okay, so this is essentially capital punishment for adultery.
Do you agree with that?
The Old Testament law is that there's capital punishment for adultery. Do I agree that there should be capital punishment for adultery today? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes.
I do not. The reason why I do not is because I don't think we
Christians don't have to follow the Old Testament.
No, it's not that Christians don't have to follow the Old Testament. Is that the section of the Old Testament that you're reading from has to do with the legal laws within that nation. Okay? So let me ask you a question. You live in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I were to, what's a law that that you guys might have that we don't have, or something like that?
Yeah, we probably have one, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah, so I don't know. Let's just say, well, whatever. Like, we can deal with the punishment. Say I'm driving too fast. Okay, like the law in your country in regards to the punishment of that, like driving too fast, would be different than the law in our country. Right? So
Okay.
I'm trying to simplify this in the sense of I'm not bound by Irish law. And you're not bound by US law. Correct? The way the Old Testament and New Testament, specifically law in the Old Testament, is that after Jesus, we are not bound to the national law of Israel. There's a new covenant. That's what New Testament means. The word testament means covenant. Okay, so there's a new covenant. And the new covenant is not a political system for it to have the kind of laws that the Old Testament laws are. So that's why we don't keep it. It's not that we don't believe in it, it's that we don't keep it. We don't have to keep it. Now, I would still say, because I think the New Testament speaks on this as well, that adultery and fornication are all sins. They're still wrong. It's just that they don't get the same punishments that we have in the Old Testament, which is a great many of these laws in the Old Testament are punishable by death.
Yeah, and it sucks that Jesus never talked about slavery and stuff like that. Like, what was up with that? Like, why did he not talk about that much?
That's a good question, man.
Because it was of his time. Because he's God.
Yeah, so a lot of theologians will speak about that the Bible sets into motion and gives you the ideological framework to get rid of slavery. And that's like in place 100%.
But there's a lot of passages that's pro-slavery in the Old Testament.
Yeah, and what I would recommend is that you not confuse what the transatlantic slave trade was, or what modern slavery, let's just say, like in the modern world, has been versus what the slavery was in the ancient world. For example, we have a system of doing things that's pretty barbaric, but you and I don't even question it. Do you know what that is?
Abortion?
No.
Okay. What is it then?
Sending people to jail. Do you think it's humane to cage people up for 20, 30 years?
Well, are you saying that slavery was kind of a form of punishment back then?
Oh, 100%. That was one of the forms of slavery. So in the Old Testament, if you couldn't pay back your debt, you had to work it off. So let's just say I gave you a loan to buy some land for you to do some farming on, and you couldn't pay me back because whatever, you had a bad year, no rain and stuff like that. You couldn't pay me back, or a bad couple of years. Then you would become my slave, my indentured servant, and you would work out that debt. And at the end of the time period that you worked out your debt, then you could be free if you wanted to. That's very different. Or there was prisoners of war as well that became slaves. But that's very different than the modern slavery kind of movement, if you could say, where people went and grabbed someone, and because of the color of their skin.
You do agree that a lot of Christians who were slave owners used the Bible to justify.
Yes, I do.
You could justify it for pro-slavery and against slavery, probably.
No, the problem is those same people who use the Bible to justify their slavery also removed large portions of the Bible whenever they gave the Bible to their slaves. So there's something called the slave Bible. I recommend you look it up. And the slave Bible is essentially the Bible that's given by the masters to the slaves, that's removed all the stuff that is anti-slavery in the Bible. And this is the thing.
It's also in Islam.
Well, I'm not a defender of Islam, so I don't care.
In the Quran.
Yeah, I'm not a defender of that.
It says too.
Sean, I can't comment on that. The other thing I would say, and I'm saying this because there's a couple of people who put comments on this. Like, for example, Nick Quint, he wrote, I did an entire video on Philemon that addresses this point. Now, Philemon is a letter in the New Testament where a slave has run away from a Christian master. And he's met Paul, and he's become a Christian, this slave. And Paul is sending the slave back and tells Philemon, his master, who's rich, and Onesimus is the slave, who's poor, tells the master, receive him back as your brother and not as your slave. So again, the slave master relationship, I think in the ancient world, is a lot more complicated and very different for us just to put it into our categories. Now, I think, again, the Bible very clearly from the beginning teaches us that all men are created equal. Male and female, we're all created in the image of God, and there's equality amongst us, and that we shouldn't be owning one another. Now, could it be where you get a system where people pay off their debts by working for one another, X, Y, and Z, I think that's a possible thing that some societies could potentially have. And I'm not an expert, so I can't comment on that in regards to what it would look like or whether it would even be a good system. But all I'm trying to say is that the Old Testament slavery system is a lot more complicated than people think it is.
Okay, so I'll give you another one. Anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death.
Yes.
Leviticus 20.9. Seems harsh, right? Too bad. That's in the website.
Yeah, Leviticus 20, verse 9, right?
Yeah.
It says, "For if anyone who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. He has cursed his father or his mother. His blood is upon him." Now, there are explanations of this. By the way, this is not like, mom and dad, be cursed. That's not what's going on. I'll give you some additional comments on this, okay? So, for example, where is it? So the cursing has to do with dishonoring, being a drunkard. It's not just a simple thing as saying like be cursed or something like that. So it goes beyond what we're reading in the text. I can't find the parallel passages to this, but when it goes on to speak about when you take this son and you bring him, by the way, you take him to court. You don't just like get rid of him. There's a whole passage, I believe. It might be in Deuteronomy. What you do with a son who has cursed his father or mother, and you essentially take them to court. And then if the court decides that they're guilty of whatever it is that they've done, then their punishment is, it's capital punishment. They're put to death. Now, again, the question becomes, how is
what
this...
What type of crimes? Curse. What does curse mean?
Yeah, again, I think...
like being
the way
lazy and...
No.
Shame on the family.
The accusations, whenever they take this person to court, if anybody in the chat can let me know what the reference there is, so I don't have to jump on my computer and do a bunch of research. Send it my way, guys. The accusation becomes that this person's a drunkard. There's a bunch of moral sort of categories that this individual has not met or is failing at it, and therefore cursing. By the way, and this also goes back to the 10 Commandments. Honor your father and mother so that your life will be long in the land. Because it's directly tied into if you do not honor your
even
father
if they're
and mother.
Crazy conspiracy theorists?
No, that's not what it's talking about. Again, the honoring your father and mother has to do with keeping the law. Not you got nutty parents and they're telling you like weird stuff. It doesn't even, by the way, it's not even... You okay?
No, I'm just thinking my parents, like, even if your parents are mad, you still have to honor them or something.
No,
I don't even know what that means.
This is a regular question. I've seen this passage, not this passage, but I've seen the honor your father and mother be misused by parents with youth quite a bit. Where they think it means just listen to your parents. And it's not just listen to your parents. When the Bible speaks about honoring your father and mother, it speaks about honoring your father and mother in the Lord. Okay, I think Saad helped me with this passage. So Deuteronomy 21:18-21 says, if a man has a stubborn and rebellious son, notice this is a different kind of language. So if a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or his mother, and though they discipline him, which is correct him, will not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the city at the gate. This is the court. This is the ancient court system. The elders, the leaders of the town would sit at the city gates. And they shall say to the elders of the city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with stones. So you shall purge the evil from your midst, and all Israel with you. And then I think there's another one in Deuteronomy 27. And that's in verse 16.
So if that were to apply now, there'll be a lot of men stoned to death.
Yeah, man. But the problem is that we
That's for sure.
The problem is that we live in a culture. I think the problem is we live in a society where respect for elders. I don't know what it is in Ireland and what it's like in Ireland, but respect for the elderly and respect for parents and grandparents and stuff like that doesn't really exist much. People don't have much reverence towards older people. And that's not a good thing. It's a really, really bad thing.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we have to stone them. We don't have to stone the
yeah, but that's not.
kids.
This is not. Notice it says that this is a rebellious person, and they've tried correcting this person.
Yeah,
so
but,
again,
but you
go ahead.
Yeah, no, but you're saying that a lazy, fat child who's not obeying his parents should be stoned to death.
Yeah, it doesn't
Is
say
that
child,
a bit
by the way.
harsh,
It's
even
not,
in those times?
Yeah, but this is not like a kid. It's not like my 5-year-old.
Adult?
Yeah, this is an adult child who is...
Yeah, but would you agree with that? Would you agree with that?
Would I agree with that there's a law in this society that where they have a right to punish people like
agree?
this?
Yeah.
You have to qualify what you mean with, do I agree with that? By that, do you mean to say, do you think what they were doing was right?
Literally?
Yeah, I think they were in their right to do this.
Well, no, but do you think we should follow that law now?
No. Again, I'm going to give you the same answer I gave you for the other one.
In a perfect Christian world?
No, I wouldn't say so. I don't think we are called to keep the law in the Old Testament.
The Old Testament laws.
Correct, because the Old Testament laws, for the most part...
No, but you're allowed to follow some of them.
Like which ones?
The 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
I'd say there's Old Testament laws that are
one
noise.
Of those, I don't think so, by the way. I don't think we're called to follow the 10 Commandments. That might shock a bunch of people that I just said that. But I'll say this. For example, in the 10 Commandments, there is a law to keep the Sabbath, correct? We don't keep the Sabbath as Christians. And no, it has not been replaced by Sunday. Sunday is the Lord's day. It's never called a Sabbath day in the New Testament. 0 times is it called that. The Sabbath is the Sabbath. Sundays are the Lord's day. This is the day Jesus resurrected from the dead. Now, I think we are called to keep the law of the Lord, which is love your God with all your heart, mind, strength, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. These are the greatest, or these sum up the entire law. And you could say, well, the 2 sides of the 10 Commandments have both of those. Then I'll be fine with that. As New Testament Christians, I don't think we're called to keep any of that stuff. I think the love your God with all your heart, mind, strength, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself is worked out in various ways in the New Testament. And this is called the law of the Lord, or the law of liberty, and that's what we ought to keep. But yeah, I'm not one of those people that's gung-ho on 10 Commandments stuff. Like, I get it. I get why people argue for it. But I'm just not one of those individuals. But that, by the way, that doesn't mean we just can go around doing whatever we want to do.
All right, it's another one. God encourages the murder of pagan children and infants.
What's the
Hosea 13.4/9/16.
Wait, Hosea 13?
4.
4.
I'll just read it.
I got it. Hosea 13:4, right? But I'm the Lord your God from the land 16. Of Egypt. You know no God but me, and besides me there's no Savior. 13, He destroys
you
your
are
Israel.
destroyed, Israel.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The people of Samaria must bear their guilt because they have rebelled against their God. They will fall by the sword. Their little ones will be dashed to the ground. Their pregnant woman ripped open. Oh, Jesus.
So this is a prophetic.
Okay.
This is a prophetic poem about what is going to happen to Samaria. It's saying that they're going to be destroyed. This is
Did that
judgment.
happen? Did God do it?
This is judgment on them. Yeah. So verse 16 is what you read. Samaria shall bear her guilt because she has rebelled against God. They shall fall by the sword. Yeah. So again, you have to go back and look. Samaria is a part of Israel, by the way, historic Israel, and they had taken a covenant with God, which is the law. And in this covenant, these people were to commit themselves to following the God of Israel. And if they didn't, then there was a judgment that was going to come upon them. And at this point, they haven't. And they've done a lot of other stuff on top of that, by the way. It's not just idolatry. That idolatry has led to things like child sacrifice. And God is therefore judging them for all those things that they have done.
So
here's a question
God
you should
told
ask.
the Israelites to kill them.
Sean, let me ask you a question, okay? No, it's not. It's not even God, by the way, that's going to do this. It's the Assyrians and the Babylonians that end up doing this. Let me ask you a question. Let's just hypothetically think God exists. Okay?
Okay.
Let's just say God exists. And God is good and all-loving and just and powerful and X, Y, and Z. God is the source of all goodness and justice. Do you think God would have a right to judge people for the evil that they do?
If I were God,
no, not if you were God.
Stuff like that. First of all, not create humans that are sinners.
But hang on. Forget, that's not what I asked.
Okay.
I'm saying if God is just, could God or would God have the right to judge the evil of humans?
Yeah, I guess so, but he could have done it in a nicer way.
Like what?
Like the modern way is better than how we're judging. I mean, how we judged people back in the old days is worse than now.
What's the modern way that we judge people?
Like, our morals have increased. Our morals have progressed, I think, than back in the day.
What's the nice way? What's the nice way you would judge people? How would you judge Hitler?
Well, I wouldn't have Well, I probably would have killed him or put him in jail.
Thank you. You probably would have killed him. Thank you.
Or put him to jail for a long time.
Would you?
Yeah, a really bad one. And then I would have psychoanalyzed him.
So you think torturing him and doing experiments on him would have been more moral?
No, I wouldn't torture him. I wouldn't torture him.
You said psychoanalyze him? Like, what does that mean? Like, how would you get that information out?
Ask him questions.
How would you get that information out?
Well, I guess I wouldn't torture him because, I'm woker than God.
So you would torture him.
Better than God.
No, you would torture him.
I
That's
wouldn't.
The reality. You would.
Okay, I would have some bit of me that wants to kill him, but then I would say, no, I have to be better than God, so I wouldn't do it.
I got Carl in. What's up, Carl?
I have to be better than God.
Hey,
What do you mean?
How do you disable the camera, bro?
So,
how do I? You got to disable it on your own. I don't know. I like your hat.
It doesn't work. Ecamm can't do that.
Thanks.
Doesn't do it.
Ecamm doesn't do that, according to Sean. That's why he's sitting in the dark.
Sean, how is your camera off?
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not off. I'm just in a dark room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wish there was, man.
Yeah, no, it's because I've got ugly face. I don't want to share my ugly face.
Hey,
I'm satanic. I'm the devil. I'm joking. But anyway, so God did a lot of bad things, and now humans have changed their ways.
No, Sean, you're like going somewhere else, man. Let's not do that.
All right.
Okay, I just again the reason why I asked is because God is judging in these passages, And you seem to have an issue with the judgment without actually knowing the proper context to the judgment. And by the way,
what would a
God judges
perfect
everyone,
God
Samaria, Israel, everyone.
So what would a perfect God do in your point of view? He would do exactly what the Bible does.
I think
he wouldn't
there are
change what God does.
No, let me put it this way. I'm not sure what I would do. What I'm saying is that there are certain crimes which forfeit your life to exist. And that's capital punishment. And once you do those things, you die.
Okay. I wouldn't agree too badly about that. I wouldn't. Yeah. Okay. What else?
I think you and I can
What
agree with that.
what would be the crimes? What would be the crimes that you would kill someone for?
Well, I wouldn't. I would say that the state would have the right to kill them. Like Arthur
Okay,
wouldn't
so
do
what
that.
would be the crimes?
The murder,
Okay. What else?
rape.
Yeah.
Rape, I would be okay with castration.
Okay.
Um,
What about being gay?
no, I wouldn't.
What does the Bible say about that?
The Bible is for capital punishment for that.
Which means killing.
The interesting thing is that in the Old Testament, the only capital punishment that's given, and some of this argued, is for males, which is very interesting. Some people have argued that the reason for that is because these are males who are refusing to do their job as responsible members of society by procreating. But that might be not the best way to put it. But yeah, some folks have argued for that. Again,
You think that they would kill people who don't procreate?
well, not necessarily. It's not just that. It's not just like a straight couple who's not procreating or something like that, or even people who just don't get married, but specifically people who are involved in homosexual acts. That would be punishable by capital punishment in ancient Israel.
Is that in the Old Testament or New Testament?
Yeah,
What
Old
did
Testament.
Jesus think about that?
That's in the Old Testament. The New Testament calls it a sin. So does the Old Testament, by the way. But
So God created Jesus, but then Jesus changed the Old Testament. But Jesus also said that I'm here to fulfill the Old Testament. So I'm kind of confused.
yeah,
So
your
God
confusion
is
might be
Jesus, but then he changed.
your confusion might be in regards to the kind of laws that God gives to Israel as a nation, as opposed to the kind of laws Jesus gives to us as individuals. There's a big difference between those two things.
So God was talking to the Jews or the Gentiles?
When?
He was talking to all of them, wasn't he? Jesus?
Jesus, I would say, was talking to everyone. And that's why the New Testament covenant, the new law we're under, is one of an individual sort, not a socio-political one.
But didn't he say he's here to fulfill the Old Testament? So does that mean that you have to follow the Old Testament as well?
No, that means that Jesus fulfilled it, which means he lived it out perfectly. He didn't break any of the law.
All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of controversial stuff in the Bible. And I think humans
It's always
evolved to
controversial.
become
It's only
better,
controversial
more
if you
aware.
don't understand it, Sean. The problem is that
Oh, no,
people,
I'd say I don't understand it. If I were to read it again, I would.
well, what
The
I'm
Old
saying is
Testament
that
works in the New Testament.
you don't understand the nature of
God
what
does way more bad
covenants
things.
are. No, I don't think so. I think what the difference you're looking at is personal ethics versus government and social ethics. For example, what I would tell you as an individual person and the way you should live your life would be very different.
Yes, but personal ethics influence.
Not necessarily like if the government
Yes,
is
but
punishing.
personal ethics influence the government ethics.
Not necessarily. So the government has a right to arrest and punish people. You don't. And the government has a right to arrest and punish people over stuff that you might not even
Yes,
see as
but
an
if
issue.
I were in power, I would have personal ethics. Yeah, I know, but if I were in power, I would have personal ethics, and that would influence the government. So I guess everybody has different personal ethics, but personal ethics still influences government power who make the law. So I'm just saying that humans change the law over time to be more progressive, and the Bible cannot change because it's perfect word. So in the future, let's
That
say if
is-
everybody went vegan and we were all trans, the religious people would not be able to change. That's if they have revelations to
I'm
change their
saying,
ways.
like, a lot of us
If
don't have
God
any
said,
desire
okay,
to become
guys, you're allowed to
trans.
have gays. If the Pope said, okay, guys, revelation. If there was like a false prophet that came down and said, okay, trans are fine, the gays are fine, and veganism is the way to go,
Hey,
then
are you
that
paying
would be
attention? That's
better
exactly
than
what's
the
happening.
current religious beliefs.
What I'm
What's that?
saying is that's exactly what's happening in the world right now. But you're claiming it's a false prophet.
Yeah, but there's a fight now between the morals of conservative morals and liberal woke morals, and I hope there's not going to be a World War III about it. That's probably what's happening now in Ukraine, because Ukraine
Yeah,
are becoming
that's
more
taking us
woke
somewhere
and
else. Okay, Sean, we're going somewhere else.
westernized, and the
Sean, I
Russians
want to.
don't like that, and they want
Sean,
to take their.
I'm not very sure whether that's going on or not. I'm not sure, but I want to give Carl a chance. He's called in a couple of times. I want to give him a chance to speak. Is that okay? Okay, Carl, you can unmute yourself, my friend. Carl really doesn't like Ecamm.
Block my camera, I lose my microphone.
If you block your camera, you lose your microphone. Yeah. Hang on, let me see. That seems about right. Carl, let me try something, okay? Don't go anywhere. Hang on. Okay. Carl, can you just talk to me like this? Unmute yourself, bring your camera back. Okay, you can talk. It's just audio that will come in for the audience. Nobody will see you.
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can. And so can everybody
Sean,
else.
are you still here?
I believe Sean is here.
Arthur, I think you let him off the hook because he was talking about morals. Like we've progressed. We're morally better than the ancients. I'm just wondering what standard of morality you're using. Like, how do you know better? Are you judging them for their morals? Like, why do you think we're better?
Sean, did you hear that question?
Well, do you think we're better now than, like, yeah, I know, back in the day, they allowed slavery. What else? Killing adulterers, killing gays. What else?
I'm not asking you for what they did. Let's just assume they did
What else did they have?
things that are far worse than that. Yeah. I'm asking you for a reason why you think we're better. Like, do you have a standard to say that they're worse
Well,
off than we
obviously,
are?
because we have changed,
Their
the
moral system is
technology,
bad.
evolution made us better.
Well, how do you know it's better though?
Yeah, I think we've changed and our morals got better. Well, Christianity
Isn't it
helped
just
our
your
morals
opinion?
get better a bit. Some of it did.
But isn't it just your opinion that it's better now?
Yeah, and it's your opinion too that it got worse.
I'm not saying it got worse. I never said anything. I just asked you a couple questions because I don't think you have a justification, a reason to believe that that we're morally better than they are.
So do you
It's
think
just your opinion
morals
that we're.
now are the same as they were? Do you think morals now are the same as they were 1,000 years ago?
No, I'm not. I don't think morals are the same. They're different. But you made the claim that we're way better. We're morally much better off than they are, right? Do you believe that?
Well, yeah, because the laws are different. We don't have killing of all the lazy kids adults and adulterers and gays in the Western world mainly. There's loads of other countries that still haven't done that yet, especially in Muslim countries.
Why is that
China
bad?
too, probably. North Korea is worse. Anyways,
But why is
huh?
that bad, Sean? Why is that a bad thing?
To kill the gays.
Yeah, why is that bad? Or it doesn't have to be gays. It could be anyone. It could be any moral thing that you think is wrong that the ancients did that we're doing better. Why is what they did wrong? Why is that bad? It's not evil, right? It's just your opinion. You don't like it. You think it's a bad idea. You don't think that it's morally wrong, right?
Killing the gays and the adulterers and the adults that were not following their parents. You think that's correct?
Well, I have a reason to think it's correct. I'm saying you
would
don't have
I
a
would
reason
say
to
it's
say
not nice.
either way.
I would have my see humans. I think are instinctively have morals, even though I think it might be subjective. I could be wrong, but we have feelings and stuff, so we judge. So back in the day, humans were less
Humans
evolved,
don't have
less
feelings anymore.
educated,
I'm asking
so
you.
they had
I'm
simpler
asking you.
laws.
Right, but it's just your opinion, right? It's just socio-biological evolution that caused us to have these specific morals that we have. Like if we evolved a different way, we had different moral standards, or for example, if Hitler
Yeah,
won World War II and we all believed it was right to kill Jews, that would be okay. It's not objectively wrong. It's just what society agrees.
yeah. To be fair, I probably will change my mind on the objective morality thing. 'Cause I'm not very good at philosophy, but I'm just saying that yes, there could be a moral that's better than other morals. So let's say hypothetically, there's a Christian world where the perfect Christian world where gays are killed and transgenders are
By the way,
reduced,
we're not saying
killed, or
that's the
whatever.
perfect Christian world. You said that. You're an atheist.
Well, in the perfect Christian world, the gays would be killed, and if you
Well,
would follow
again,
all the
you're
Bible,
I don't think they'd
literally,
be killed.
you're saying that.
literally. Why are you saying that the gays would not be killed literally if you followed the Bible literally?
No,
They
no,
wouldn't.
I don't think the New Testament teaches that. Hey, we got
So
another
why
caller. We
why
got
they,
Naturalist Bob has called in as well, guys.
hey,
What's up?
I seem to bring out all the people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
Sean, man,
controversial.
you're the life of the party. I knew I had a Naturalist Bob. Hang on, man. Where's my Naturalist Bob sticker?
So I know for you guys would say God's the one who gave all the moral standards, all the objective morality, whatnot. So okay, let's just assume you guys have the best standard. You guys, or I mean, it's not even just you guys because God basically gave it to everyone, right? So all of us got our objective moralities through God. So what? Are anyone following it? Are Christians following it more than other people? And if we look at all the different types of nations, we actually do see that some nations have better. Well, again, you probably would say, "Well, who's the one who's saying that that's actual morality or something like that?" But let's just say let's rank countries with highest murder rate or highest assaults, sexual assaults with each other. If we rank that, typically it's not the Christian countries who are ranked the best. So if that's the case, then why even bother? Who even cares then? Should we not have a different system where okay, God gave us all these objective moralities, but shouldn't we have a different standards of um, qualifying these moralities? Shouldn't we say give a better reasoning as to why we should follow these type of moralities? And we should probably even look into other nations. How are they better at following it than Christian nations?
Okay, can you
Yeah.
succinctly say what you just said?
Okay, let's just give an example. Japan has really never been tapped into Christianity. In fact, uh, when they saw what Christians were trying to do to other Asian countries, they banned religions altogether, stopping all religions from going into Japan. And yet, if you look at Japan nowadays, they probably have a better moral system than almost anyone else, because if you look at their murder rate, if you look at their sexual assaults rates, in comparison to a lot of different countries, they're one of the best out there in terms of, if you're
Wait, are you
talking about
trying to
morality.
say? Are you trying to say that Japan is not a westernized nation?
Are you saying that they are?
100%.
And what are you basing that on?
100%. Japan has, in post World War II, Japan is one of the most westernized nations on
Because
the
of
planet.
democracy?
Because of the United States and their influence on Japan.
But
That's
are
a
you saying
historical
that-
fact.
Are you saying that that's where they got their moral standards from the United States?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
westernized, and I think it's a mess in
So-
many different ways.
So if you're saying yes, okay, then but
But
right
okay,
now we're
so,
talking
so,
about
so
morality.
let's just say the reason why Japan doesn't have some of these issues, right? And I'm not an expert on Japan, by the way. So if anybody in here, I know there's one guy in here that probably knows more about Japan. If Japan doesn't have these issues because of, say, traditional Japanese values of respecting your parents and honoring them, and because of that, some other things have naturally, like morally, come into place. Correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that per se. We're not talking about human beings have no ability to tell the difference between moral rights and wrongs. I don't think that's what Carl's point was. Carl's point was, you're making an objective claim that some other society was wrong in doing whatever it was that they did. And if that's the case, how do you know that is the case? That's all he was saying. He's not saying it's not wrong, it's not right.
Mhm.
He's saying, I just want to know how you know it's wrong.
So sorry for coming in and derailing that conversation.
No, it's fine, because I think what you're saying is the natural
Right.
progression of a conversation like this.
Yes, that's the whole point I'm trying to make too, is to progress it to. So what? So let's just say I'll give you guys that. I'll grant you guys that. Okay, God's the one. God's the one who gave us all the objective morality.
No, it's not that God gave it to us. It's that the Christian argument would be that God built human beings
Exactly.
as moral agents.
That's what I mean.
That doesn't mean we're all going to follow it. Obviously, the Christian worldview has an
Right.
answer as to why we don't follow it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what I mean too. Yes, exactly. So this is the progression. So what? So God gave us all that. So what? Why? So if
The
some of us
question-
will follow it,
Yeah. It's not about following it. It's about which worldview has a better explanatory power of the situation we find ourselves in as human beings.
and again, yeah. So I could easily just say, I don't know. That could be a suitable answer too for some of us.
It's not good enough because it has zero explanatory power.
But this is like going. So let's just say
It's a cop out.
you say it's a cop out. You saying I don't know is a cop out. But let's just go back to like 3,000 years ago, and people are looking at the sky and lightning's falling down, and then you're saying, oh, it's because of God, and I'm saying I don't know what that is. Would you say that I'm copping out then?
So what's your comparison?
So I'm comparing it to a thunderstorm. I'm comparing
What
everything
about the
that we don't know.
thunderstorm?
I'm comparing everything that we currently don't know about the world, currently don't know about the universe, to a thunderstorm.
Bob,
to
you're a
say
very
humans-
intelligent guy. I suppose you've read the Code of Hammurabi.
So I'm just saying.
The reason why I'm saying this is because that's a fable that people looked at lightning and they were like, therefore moral X, Y, and Z. That's never the case in the ancient world. Nobody sits there and says there's lightning and therefore, like, people would interpret natural phenomenon in divine ways. There's no question about that. But when it came to morality and the way they legislated their laws and the punishments they came up with, they're highly intelligent and extremely detailed. The first law we have on this planet, written law, that we know of, is the Code of Hammurabi. Okay? And it is extremely detailed and gets to the point, and it's societally relevant. Now, not all of it is moral per se, because it's a legal system. Not everything within the legal system is per se moral. I hope people understand that. Okay? But we can't mix, in my opinion, like we get these fables like, oh, people in the ancient world were so dumb. It's their mechanism of interpreting natural phenomenon that's very different than them understanding that when you murder your neighbor, that's a wrong act that you did. Nobody's running around in the ancient world saying, screw my neighbor, let's kill them all. Nobody does that. And that's the point that the Christian is making. The Christian is saying, we have a way of having an explanation as to why our system is a better system, because nobody's running around saying, let's kill all our neighbors. They have a system as to why you should honor, respect, not kill, and if you do kill, then we're going to punish you, from ancient times till today. And saying, I don't know, is you're not bringing, let me say this. When you say, I don't know, you are not bringing anything to the conversation.
Now, I was just saying, I don't know, just to try to move.
I get it, but my response would be like, okay, it seems like a personal problem. I got a better answer still.
Okay, so, all right. I mean, I wanted to move past this part of the conversation.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, because I'm saying, I'm giving it to you guys, that you're basically saying it's God who gave us the imbued us or put it into us that we have this, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what? Now what? Now are people following it?
Yeah. So that's it. Okay. So I get what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not more about whether people are following it or are not, but it puts us in a place as human beings to use those standards to hold people up to what they should naturally know. And when they don't, you actually have a right to punish them. And it doesn't become one of who's more in power, general consensus in society, because societies have had general consensuses that have been very wrong. So it puts you in a place to actually judge societies as well as individuals. It's not about whether we are following it. It's more so, I would say, is what happens when people don't follow it and what we do with that.
But as to what Sean was saying, the Old Testament says that a lot of what you're saying is that the end result is capital punishment. Who are we to now say we shouldn't follow this then? So again, it's really not following the Bible anymore.
It's not who are we. It's not we. It's so again, if we're gonna put it within a biblical framework, human beings aren't the ones that came here and were like, hey, we're not going to follow the Old Testament anymore. God himself said, you are no longer obligated to this covenant because it's no longer a socio-political covenant.
So even you're saying God said this is no longer objective. Now you guys have to make subjective rules.
That is not true.
This.
That is not true, because all the objective stuff will still be punished by God.
It's objectively if it's moral or not. Oh, okay, yes, okay. I see. So it's after
all
death.
the objective stuff will be punished by God. Christian influence still brings about a punishment of other objective wrongs. Okay, there's a prioritization, you could say, or whatever like that. And nothing and no one gets away from it. Now the issue becomes like the conflating of say, what are 3 categories? Working on the Sabbath, dishonoring your parents by being whatever, a rebellious child, to say sexual ethics, bestiality, homosexuality, so on and so forth, because they're all categorized, adultery, they're all categorized in the Bible together, and say something like murder. Biblically speaking, those take on different categories. That's like, you can't conflate those. If you want to be an honest literary critic, you have to understand that there's a difference in the way those things are treated, even though the punishments are the same. They're all death. Every single one of the ones I mentioned, all the punishments I covered.
You do know that Christians had different views on this. So more conservative Christians followed those Old Testament laws more than others.
It's
so
not a conservative.
Christianity itself changed.
Sean, it's not a conservative liberal thing.
Yeah, but I'd say there were some Christians in the past who followed the Old Testament laws, and then Christianity over time changed. They said, okay, it's fine not to follow those Old Testament laws.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's theonomists still around who believe that we should apply the Old Testament law. I'm just not one of them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and they're in the minority. Man, he just dropped out and messed up my whole cool pictures, dude.
Gotta redo it.
Dropping on me like that. He's gonna come back and it's all gonna. I had a cool picture of Sean Connery for him too. And I get it. He's Irish. That guy's Scottish. Relax, people. Relax. Somebody's like, some Sean Connery fans out there like going nuts. That guy's Irish, not Scottish. Sorry, Scots. Chill. Yeah, so again, I think there's a development. I don't mind that there's a development of theology. I think we don't live in the New Testament covenant. We're not under a socio-political system. I think governments have a right to establish themselves the way they want to, and to come up with the sorts of punishments they want to in their countries. Like, it is a part of what it means to be a sovereign state. There's Sean, he's back.
Yeah, but again, you're saying when you're saying the objective part of it that God's going to imbue it on people is pretty much after death, right? When you die, then that's when God will serve the justice on you. But what about here now on earth? It's still subjective. You're still saying that it should be subjective too, that each nation should have their own ways of dealing punishments.
To a certain extent, I don't mind saying that there's subjective laws. Like, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah,
there absolutely are. Like, I gave the example of like what a punishment would be for speeding in the United States might be different than the one it would be in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so those things are subjective. But it would be weird and by weird here, I'm not trying to lessen it by any way. But suppose that we gave rewards and awards to people for murder. Like, would you think that would be justifiable?
In a ways, in some ways, we sort of do, because
no. Like, how?
Because of what you would call justify killing. In some extents, it might not be justified. It's just what justify is subjective.
So give me the example of that.
If the government tells you to go assassinate someone.
Oh, right? as a like if you're working for the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah. So you're told to go assassinate a political leader. Would you say that?
I could still say there's moral and immoral. That would be a moral or immoral decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think that you have a responsibility as an individual, as a moral individual, as a conscientious individual, to disobey orders given to you by government officials that you find to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You should do that. If you don't, you're being immoral. and you should be held accountable towards that action. Yeah.
But thank you. Yes, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, that's because morality is objective.
But
That's what I mean. Like so if the government comes to you and says, hey, you're let's just say you're an assassin. That's your job, right?
mm-hmm.
And the government says, hey, we want you to go kill this guy. And you go, well, for what? Like the guy, let's just say, I don't mind that they would assassinate people, right? Like I don't mind that people were planning on assassinating Hitler. That's a very obvious case, by the way. And Christians were involved in that. But say the guy's just like the only reason to get rid of him is because he's a political opponent or something. Right? Then I would say you disobey that order. Because it's immoral. It's wrong.
But that's the thing. Exactly. It is in a way sort of subjective. There's a way that you can figure out when is it okay to actually do this. Because if the government tells you to kill a world leader that what we would consider someone who's harming the world, then you will probably feel it's okay to do that then.
Yes, but it's not like you just randomly make up decisions like whether it's okay or there's no evidence. They're just saying this.
But in a way, I'm saying it's not objective then.
How is it not objective?
It requires you to, if you're saying it's objective, then it doesn't actually, it's not based on parameters then. That's what I would say. Let me try to see if I can think this through.
Yeah, let's try to process that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I should say this. Let me just for our intellectual honesty. I personally think, this is Arthur's personal opinion on the matter. I think ethics is probably the most difficult branch of philosophical thought. I think epistemology and metaphysics are a lot easier than ethics. I think ethical decisions very often require a fuller explanation and a story to be told. So I think morals, and we can talk about it this way, that within ethical studies, there is what's called normative ethics, okay? And then there is, and I forgot the other term, more like in the theoretical kind of study of ethics, right? And those cross over sometimes, but it's not very easy at times to understand where that line is. Like, I get that. I'm not denying that, by the way. But that doesn't in any way harm the conversation we're having about morals being absolute or not. Like, the way we would say this is, like, if we think about genocide, say the definition of genocide would be the mass killing of a group of individuals based on ideology, skin color, X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then I go, can you think about a situation in which it's ever justifiable to commit genocide for those reasons? I think we'd sit there and go, no, like, you can't think of any situation. But if I said, can you think about any situation where it is justifiable to take someone else's life? Or we can come up with 1,000. That's the objectivity there, right? And I know there's people in the comments talking about, can you tell the difference, or can we distinguish between moral values or moral oughts? And again, that's the distinction, I think, between ethics and normative ethics versus not. Go ahead.
Yeah, but God did mass genocide, so he's worse than you
by definition,
ethics-wise.
Okay, again, Sean, just one thing, don't do this, at least with me, is repeat stuff that you've heard other atheists say. Okay, I just defined genocide. Genocide is the mass killing based on people's religion, religion, skin color, things of that sort. Okay? God never does that. God never goes,
to kill other tribes.
Hey, let's get rid of these group of people because I have an answer for every. I'm
But
like
God
4
told
steps
the
ahead of you,
Jews
bro.
to kill all the
Because
other
those
tribes.
people were committing heinous evils,
Well,
and God
the
told
flood
them to
and all
declare
that.
war on them. If the
What was it?
look, hey, predominantly the reason is child sacrifice.
I don't think that was the reasoning that was given in the Bible to
It
kill all the Amalekites.
the Amalekites.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that the Canaanite people had a consensus of religious practice and action.
Mm-hmm.
The Canaanite people, remember in Genesis, there is, hey, it's not time to judge them yet. Okay, so even within that there's a waiting period of 400 years in order for these people to be judged. So it's still a gracious, merciful act. So like, how long would it take if we knew X, Y, and Z people, so groups of nations around us doing and committing heinous acts, for us to go to war with them? Like, so here's a question that comes up regularly. Do you think it was justified or unjustified to go to war against the Nazis?
No, I think that's justified.
Okay, why?
They were committing a lot of harmful things in the world.
Correct. So they were committing mass genocide, and
Mm-hmm.
it was justifiable for us to go and drop bombs on Germany and go to war with them so that we would free these people.
So
that are
what
being
did the
oppressed.
Amalekites do?
I don't know. I can't give you the background to Amalekites right now.
So what the Bible said the Amalekites did is that they stood and watched and did not provide any help to the Israelites. That was their wrongdoing.
But I got to look at the text that you're talking about, dude. Like, you know me better than that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we can take the time right now and Google this out and figure
We
it
can.
out.
I don't mind that, but I should say it's 3:30, and I said in the beginning of the stream that I had a meeting
Right.
at 4. So I'll try to push it like another 7 to 8 minutes. Okay.
But see, this is what I'm saying is that this is subjective. I don't think it was right for the Amalekites to die. If that is the reasoning, I don't believe that's right. But in the Bible, it's right.
Correct. Again, I would have to look at the text and break it down. It's again in regards to the Amalekites. There's multiple things. It's the same thing with the Edomites, right? The Edomites don't allow the Edomites I'm probably more familiar with. The Edomites don't allow the Israelites to pass through their land. They're Esau's descendants. They don't allow the people to pass through the land to get to the land of Canaan. But there's also regular conflict between the Edomites and the Israelites. The Edomites betrayed the Israelites. They ended up rejoicing over the fall of Israel when the Babylonians, I think, were conquering them, and God said, "I will judge them for doing those things." So again, there's a whole explanation given to these things.
So are you saying in the Bible there was sufficient reasons for every single situations that someone was killed?
No, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that. No, I'm not
Mhm.
sure whether I would make a lofty statement like that.
Mhm.
So immediately I would say, well, David didn't have sufficient reason for getting rid of Uriah.
So
It's clearly a wrong act.
did David murder?
Absolutely, yeah.
Uriah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he committed adultery and murder. He deserved to die.
Then what about in God's situation? It's all reasons for when God either did it himself or commanded the killing of other. Is it all a good sufficient reason where it's all justified and none of it is murder?
Yeah, so you would. So this is the way the reasoning generally works: is that if God is a good God, right, and is a just God, then His commands are going to be just and good, and so He must have sufficient reason for doing X, Y, and Z.
Right. So even though it's not outright written in the Bible of the sufficient reason, that's what you would say, right? That it is a just reason.
Yeah. Then the question is whether we have actually access to potentially making an argument whether there's a just reason or not.
But you see how awful that is, actually.
How awful is what?
So the reasoning to that. So what if the Nazis said that to the Nazi said, because God said so? We could justify this because God said so.
Yeah,
Do you think this is a good reason?
No, the question would become whether the Nazis were right and wrong on that issue. It's not about them saying so.
So if they would have succeeded, and then they said it was because we've succeeded, it was always in God's plan.
Yeah, I mean, I can come up with 80 scenarios where it would be very similar to what you're saying. I just don't think that's the biblical scenario.
But yeah,
it's not like the Israelites succeeded. So. No, because the Israelites didn't succeed. Because the Israelites, even though post those commandments, those individuals from those tribes are still living in Israel.
But
so how does that work?
So because, right, because of that, huh?
No, I'm saying like, okay, go, because there's an argument.
It's terrible. This is so sad to me.
Hang on. So there's an argument that needs to be had here when it comes to war language being used to speak about how to conduct war in the ancient world. Okay? So-and-so went and annihilated every single person, the whole towns and stuff like that. And then 2 chapters later, those whole towns that were supposed to be annihilated and everyone dead, you get those people still alive. That tells you that they didn't kill everyone, clearly, right?
Okay,
so it tells you there's something else going on there. Very simply. We speak like this all the time. We annihilated them. Like we annihilated the Germans. Did we?
But
we didn't. There's Germans around. We did not annihilate them, literally speaking.
In a way, the way that you're saying this to me is still justifying what the Nazis did. They've killed millions and millions of people. Are we saying because they didn't kill everyone that they did not succeed?
No, you're misunderstanding me. I'm talking about the war. You're misunderstanding me. I'm talking about the war language in the Bible.
Right. But I'm not talking about the war language.
Yeah, you're saying the Nazis said God told us, therefore that justifies it. And I'm saying no, it doesn't justify it. It's not just God told us, that's it. That's not what the Israelites are doing. It's not God told us, therefore they're doing all this stuff. See, the problem is that having a conversation, let's say, is that I actually think I'm going to take the biblical text and treat it seriously, let's just say. Okay? And before the God told us to do this action, there is internal evidence in the text that speaks about or that portrays or shows that God is actually actively involved in these things. Right? So did God tell them? Well, if God brought them out of Egypt and did all the stuff in Egypt that he did, yeah, he told them. But like you can't give an example like that with the Nazis. The only example you can draw is that they just said God told us, which they never, by the way, the Nazis never said that.
But I'm saying in events where a party wins a war, they could rewrite history and say whatever they want.
Happened. Now you're taking on burden of proof. Now you're taking on burden of proof to show whether there's a rewriting of history that has taken place.
I'm not saying rewriting I'm saying justifying the history that happened.
That's fine. That's fine. Then you would have to argue your case. Yeah. I mean, you could say that, but that's not an argument.
But but this for me, looking at the Bible, that's what exactly happened.
I get, look, I get what the counter is. I understand what the counter is. I understand I understand the reason why I would view the Bible the way I do, and I understand the reason why you would view the Bible the way you do.
Right.
Okay, like I get that. Like I don't think we need to hash out like why you're looking at the text the way you are and why I'm looking at the text the way I am. Right? Because like if I follow your train of thought, I'm going to come to your conclusion that you're right. Okay. But if you follow the way I'm thinking and my train of thought, you're going to have to agree with me.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, for instance, if I came from a society... But that doesn't make it relative.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That doesn't make it relative. It still makes it objective by either standard. So if I take your conclusion, let's just say I go with you and you're right? Like God doesn't exist. They justified all this stuff, all of that. That means they were wrong for doing what they did.
Yes.
Okay, so everything's objective. Thank you for making my point.
No, how's that objective? It's subjective
Because
to
they're wrong.
But you are saying that
Subjective.
it's
By the way,
subjective.
here let me actually explain what subjectivism is. Subjectivism is that everything is reliant to the person or the societal structures. Moral subjectivism is saying that either individuals make up what's right or wrong, or societies together make up what's right or wrong. If you're going to come to a point where you say they were wrong for what they did, then you're taking an objective position. The most you could say is, I don't like what they did. Or else you're going to run into something called the reformer's dilemma. Okay, so which is celebrating historical reformers of societies because they were essentially the minority in their societies. They fought against their society norms. Okay, so that needs to be answered. The most you can do as a subjectivist is say, well, if the Israelites decided to do this, I might not like it, but they were right in doing so because it's what they decided. And they were powerful enough to do what they did. But you can't really say they were wrong.
But it is subjective, though. I mean,
okay, if it's subjective, then they're not wrong.
Depends. That's the problem. It depends.
Okay.
It depends on your viewpoint
if
of
it's subjective,
how
let's
it
just
is.
assume subjectivism. If it was subjective, we don't like it. It makes us feel icky. But it's what they decided. It is what it is. Whether they committed genocide, whether they killed every single baby in those lands, they could have eaten their flesh for all we care. It just would make us feel unsettled. But at the end of the day, it's what they had decided to do as a society. And we can't really judge their society. Moral subjectivism.
So is God subjective?
Hang on, Sean. But any textbook you read on moral subjectivism, any book you read, that's ultimately the conclusion. If it's objective, then we're going to say they're subjective. Wrong. No, God is not subjective. God is goodness in his nature, and therefore goodness flows out of him. God is not subjective.
No.
That just
people have subjective views on that.
People can have subjective views about things that are objective. That's fine. Nobody argues that.
So you're confused about morals. You're like half subjective, half objective.
Oh, I'm not confused at all, man. I think you're confused. I can teach a class on this subject. I really can.
Anyway, on my subjective views, I think God was kind of...
That's fine. If it's your subjective view, if it's your subjective view, it doesn't have any power of judgment. It's just a personal opinion. So what the Nazis did, you might not like very much, but if they had won, you would agree with them. Because that would become societal norm. Really. Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Okay.
You'd be forced to.
I'd be forced to.
Yeah, I would actually. Yeah. On the other hand, I would say no. I would always be against them because I have a higher moral standard than the societal norms. That's why whether every single person on the planet believed slavery was okay, I'd still think it's wrong. And at the end of the day, I would argue that both of you guys are moral objectivists, not subjectivists, because you guys have very strong opinions on morality. Which I agree with.
Because it came from God?
Look, here's what I'm saying is I haven't met many true moral subjectivists. And the ones that I've met have made the most ridiculous comments that I think every single one of us here in this chat would find appalling. I've asked moral subjectivists who were consistent, and highly intelligent and very well versed on the subject, do you think the rape of children is objectively wrong? And they've made statements like, well, I wouldn't like it, but I can't really say it's wrong. They're being consistent. And I think that's abhorrent for them to even make that kind of a comment. But they're being consistent with their worldview. The moral subjectivism is not just about how we feel about things or what we think. It's actually, it puts you in a place where you don't allow yourself to pass judgment on other people for what you might consider is wrong, because you realize all the stuff that you think they did wrong is a direct result of your societal influence. And they had a different societal influence, so that's okay. So if they want to burn women for looking at them incorrectly, let's just say, that's their society. We shouldn't get involved. Let them be.
You're doing that with God. You're applying your morals to God, and God is doing bad things, but you're letting that happen because you think his morals are correct.
Well, I'm not. I should just say I'm not. Sean, I'll just say I'm not. Okay? And I don't have time to explain it because I just realized it's 3:47. Time's flying. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you guys, but I really have to go. I got like 7 minutes to get to where I'm going.
Thank you.
And it's very important.
Okay.
I'm going to be back on today. I'm going to be on the Why Jesus Network. So there's a couple of discussions that we're going to be having over there, folks. Again, thanks, Sean. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Carl, for calling in. So at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be on the Why Jesus Network. I was on last Tuesday with them. I'll post that in my community tab. But in between that, I got this 2-hour window. I got to go and jump into a meeting. I will be back. Thank you, guys. God bless you. I'll see you later.